This is Freddie Gillespie, Chair of the Town of Southborough's Open Space Preservation Commission, and I'm going to open today's meeting as we do with all virtual Zoom meetings with a reading of the required statement from the governor. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law C-30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Open Space Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So having a quorum of Sarah Rossitano, Karen Savicevich, and myself, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 1:05. And the first item is minutes. I'm not prepared. I'm sorry. Probably put us behind, but I just can't. I didn't get to it this time. Is that all right? I'm going to table that.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm the chair and you have to. Just gotta laugh sometimes. All right, so the first item up is the wildlife habitat certification update, and that's to you, Sarah. I know we put out the press release, and I was just going to ask you for any updates on activities. The Facebook group went live. So do you have anything to say about what's going on there?
The press release hasn't been on my Southborough yet.
Okay.
But should be soon. And then, but it was on the Facebook, and we went from just us being followers of it to over 50 now. So that was good. A lot of initial interest.
So one thing we can ask everybody to invite their friends, because that's how I think we got some people. I know I invited all my Southborough friends to join. I don't know if you both did.
And I emailed the information, like the press release information to today to Jeff Pete and Deb Costin?
Yeah.
So, and I said, if you have any public pages or town pages, for the Open Land, Southborough Open Land Foundation and the Conservation Commission. I'm not sure what they do, but if they could spread the word and share the information.
Okay. I think you could also send it to Melissa.
I did.
Okay. So I had a couple of questions. One is, it's a different kind of Facebook page than I am used to. It's not a group, right?
Right.
And so you manage it. Who gets to put info on it?
I believe at this point, just you and I and the other people in
Jeff and
yeah.
So
Jeff.
maybe we should get together and say have a conversation. What kinds of information do we want there?
Yeah.
And
But it's not a page, a group like on Facebook where anyone can post.
right, we made
Because
that
it's-
decision, right?
It's not that kind, yeah, it's more for information. It's not really a community like, well, people can comment, but
Right.
it's providing information. So I was thinking of putting something up there of pictures of my current state of my certified yard
That would
as
be cool.
examples.
We had
And
talked,
I know you were talking about videos, and I took some videos but didn't talk, and I was thinking of like watching as I watch it, talking about it, because I didn't know what to say on the spot, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
yeah, I've taken some videos of things I was going to share on another Facebook group for native plants, and it's not as simple as you think.
No.
I have a lot of pictures of my sneakers, and but I think just having a plan and maybe working with Deb and Jeff, maybe because you could reach out to them. Like, if you don't keep it active, people won't go there.
Mhm.
And we also need to be aware not everyone's on Facebook. So we're going to have to, you know how we did for the winter sow? We started using our website for more information. We
Yeah.
should post stuff there, all the information. We should have a folder. We need to clean up that website because it was good, though. I found a flyer from 2017 that we had a presentation on small lawns. Who knew we've been doing this that long? So, you know, keeping it in there somewhere, but it shouldn't be like up and coming events. I did want to mention there's a couple of items. I put them on the agenda to be under wildlife certification. The town forest, have you guys seen the notification of the project there that the stewardship committee is worked with a grad student on?
No, I didn't see that. What did it say?
It was on my Southborough, so that certainly could go in there. And it's on, I believe, the stewardship committee's town website. And we could maybe, well, work with the stewardship committee, which I'm on, but the Open Space Commission, to help them host an event. I think there's a plan to do so. So this grad student made these adorable artwork birdhouses, as well as each one is for a different kind of bird, and she has a info sheet on each of the birds. The houses are amazing, and plus she made artwork of different critters that you would find there, and it's like a scavenger hunt because it's not like, oh, here it is, they're not clearly marked, you have to be paying attention. And there was another thing she did, which is backyard bird bingo. So
Wow.
you can take the sheet and, you know, see how many of the birds you get in your backyard, and, you know, maybe play with a friend online. I'm not really sure exactly how you would do it, but I thought it was pretty cool. She also talks about planting native plants using Dr. Jagir's plant list. So I think we want to promote that I mean, we certainly get points for it, right? But additionally, the Open Space Commission with the Stewardship Committee could do an event. Or, you know, even if it's hosting, go there and do it, you know. And the other one is mosquito spray. You know, the fact that we have people in town who are posting their yards and registering, and I think Melissa, are you available to talk?
Yep.
Did you registered Breakneck Hill in the town forest? Did any other properties get registered, do you know?
Not that I've done.
Okay, so that's something we can work with, or you can work with Jeff Pete, and then Solf did the same thing, and those are things you could maybe put on the Facebook page, or that we could also post info about on the Open Space Commission's website under the certification program. I don't know, do you have any other ideas?
I'll I'll look into it on the certification page and see where that would fall.
Well, even if it's, yeah, it must be something. Don't you think? That the town is posting their land, not to,
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
okay. So then, did you have any ideas or input on keeping this vibrant, Karen?
I mean, I think the Facebook page is excellent, and I'm really excited, Sarah. That's great news that we're up to 50 participants in that. And I do think that if we just all, invite others and maybe invite people that are part of the Native Plant Book group, that this could be a great way to pass the word around.
But that means we have to keep it vibrant, like, supply. That's always the challenge with things like this. How do you keep it with new
Yeah.
info?
Well, and I think if we keep current updates, around how many points we have and getting more points, and I love the picture that you posted in the text, Sarah, of your plants. So I think things like that will help keep it vibrant as well. And maybe even do updates of how we're doing towards our certification in the native plant group, so that it kind of drives maybe some more traffic to our Facebook group.
Okay. How many? Yeah, knowing how many points we're away from, and it maybe explaining the points, does it do that? I know there's something, but maybe focusing on one section of the points, like what we're trying to accomplish, would be helpful. I don't know. I think it's a great job, Sarah. Really nice, and 50 people is amazing. So, yay us, yay you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, I was thinking about how we could do a virtual thermometer, of how close we are, how far we have to go for these certification points,
Yeah, I think
and like how many houses we need. I was thinking of posting something about that, but I have to look into how many. I know where we're at.
maybe, I believe it was 175. It's based on population. And you need points, and not all properties are the same points, right? So Breakneck Hill and the Salt land is more points because it's public land, and then I'd have to look into it again, but like a school gets a bazillion points, and then public land gets other points, and then your homeowner gets like 1 point. Something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
we
1,
have-
3, and 5, something like that.
We have 17 homes and 20 community properties.
So the 20 times, if I'm correct that it's 3, that would be 60 points.
And then plus
17.
17. And I think schools were 5. Maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, we could do a thermometer, and I think that would be something you want to talk with Deb and Jeff, because Deb's an artist, so I wonder if there's a way to do a public one somewhere where people would see it, and then we could just paint it as we get more points, and then you could take pictures of it. Even
Yeah.
could have a contest, like if you certify your property, you get to paint your number in or something, and then have a picture of them painting it. Or not, you'd have to be careful that just other random people don't come and paint it though, right?
Mhm.
Well, we can think about it, right?
Yeah, great ideas.
All right. Anything else, Sarah, do you want to?
Actually, Freddie, can I butt in real quick?
Yep.
Sarah, I would recommend reaching out to Sandra Duran, who's the facilities manager at St. Mark's, because she was interested in getting some of their properties certified as well.
Ooh, that's cool, because I was just talking to her before the meeting. So, because they're interested in doing some native pollinator gardens.
Sandra Durand.
I can send you her info.
Okay, and some of St. Mark's properties?
Yes.
Sandra's
Okay.
the director of facilities for St. Mark's. And then
So I
Sonia,
wonder how that would work if it's one school. If
it's by property, not by ownership.
But if it falls in the school category,
Probably one for the one school.
and then others community, maybe?
Yeah, I'd have to figure that out. Because they have ballpark fields and they have, they have different parcels of land and then they own houses in town.
Mhm,
Um,
that's true.
and then Sonia is their head of grounds. I don't know what, I'm probably saying the wrong thing, but landscaping grounds. And both she and Sandra have been coming to some of our native pollinator workshops for the Metro West Conservation Alliance.
Mhm.
And they're putting in native plants as part of their dorm. So that's a great idea. We could also
Yeah.
reach out to Faith School. Wouldn't that be cool too?
Mhm.
That even ties into a topic at a further down. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's great. Thank you, Melissa. But again, Sarah, you don't have to do this all alone. You should, I know with COVID, we were all geared up gung ho and then COVID hit and we sort of you've kept it going. So thank you. But we were talking about having your little, the partnership between the South Open Land Foundation and the Conservation Commission and us. So we advantage of that.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else? Melissa, any more great ideas?
Not that I have.
Okay. That was brilliant though. So native pollinator, native plant initiative. And now we're on to pollination preservation gardens and pollination preservation habitat. So as part, I don't know if have we formally adopted that term as a commission? I know I've talked about it, so we may want to do that. Working, I am on the Metro West Conservation Alliance as a representative of this commission, and I serve on their advisory committee for conservation and conservation agents and commissions and land trust and other interested parties throughout the 36 towns of the Metro West region, which is the Suasco watershed is how they define it. And through that, I was, to entice me to do that work, I was given a task force was developed for the native pollinator task force of the MCA, and I chair that. And we have worked with Dr. G. Gear. I think you both have been to some of those presentations, and this is the name we've come up with, Pollination Preservation Gardens. They're not pollinator gardens. It's about the interrelationship between the animal and the plant. And it's not just gardens, but habitat. And we're trying to also create, and we've talked about this before, the pollination, I'm calling it the pollination preservation pathway, where you connect from, one public area to another. As part of that, we started out at Breakneck Hill, which was Dr. G. Gear's first research site and his first training for the Beecology citizen science project he has on identifying bees and the plants they use, which is what gave us the list we now have. So at Breakneck Hill, we have the Beecology Research Garden. And tomorrow we are planting the Beecology Research Meadow. Fingers crossed. That's as soon as I get off this call, we're confirming. So we've been, doing the soil prep for a couple of seasons, and now we're going to seed it with plants that Dr. G. Gear is giving us the seeds of just his mix. So that's ongoing, as well as Wildflower Hill has the older pollinator gardens, which didn't have Dr. G. Gear's plants and didn't have the at-risk species of bees and butterflies showing up. So it's been a great example of how those other typical quote pollinator plants haven't provided what species heading towards extinction need, because when we planted them at the research garden last year, we within a few weeks had Bombus fervidus, which we thought had disappeared from Breakneck Hill, showed up. So why am I talking about that? So those gardens and working with Dr. G. Gear is through the Open Space Preservation Commission in collaboration with the Stewardship Committee and overall the Conservation Commission support, because they're the ones who have the control of the, it's under their care and control. So you both have done volunteer work there, along with all the wonderful volunteers that we had for the research gardens. Wildflower Hill Pollinator Gardens, we have the opportunity to start helping to move Dr. G. Gear's plants there so that we can maybe have better diversity of species. So that's on the that's on our list, but it's also we're going to have, if you're ready for this, a grand opening of the research garden June 13th. It's a Sunday, so I wanted you to save the date. It's through the stewardship committee will be involved, but and us, and then we'll all the volunteers. So does that date work for you? I think it's a Sunday.
What was the date again, Freddie? Sunday?
June 13th. It was the day we want Dr. G. Gear there to, to sort of like cut the ribbon, so to say.
I will not be in town that day.
All right, so we will have another ribbon cutting day for you.
Yeah, I'll have to have my own special ribbon.
Yeah. Sarah, does that work for you?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll start, I have to double check with the stewardship committee as well. But this is also as a component of the MCA Native Pollinator Task Force. We're going to be doing garden tours around the watershed that day. And so like Southborough was a leader in this, and that's why they started this task force, and so that we could share what we've done here with other communities. So now these gardens are popping up all around the watershed. The task force has been working very hard. In December, we had a workshop that 215 people registered for. I thought I was giving a presentation to maybe 40 or 60 people at the most. And of the 215, over 150, 160 attended, and then the others wanted the video. So this is far reaching. Last fall, we did a workshop and had 36 people. Would have been more, but we had to limit the numbers because of COVID. So the point is, the work we've been doing with our native pollinator, native plant initiative has gained attention statewide, and people are following suit. So yay us.
That's fantastic.
So then what do we have? We started talking, and this has been on our, oh, I think I missed something. This has been on our list for a long time. So we want more of these gardens. And one of the things that the Native Pollinator Task Force has focused on is how do you get people to plant these gardens at home? And there's a, the garden tours help, but people think native plants are messy, or so we're trying to create these, what we're calling pollination preservation public display gardens, where people see them not like at Breakneck Hill on a meadow, which is a little messy, but in a more formalized area, so they can see the garden and want to get those plants to bring them home. So they're somewhere where they're not planning on going to garden in the woods or something. They're just going about their daily business and they come across it. So we're looking, some of the places are across the watershed are police stations and schools and libraries and businesses, and all of those are coming on in other communities through our regional group, which we're a part of, but not that it's our focus is Southborough as this commission. But so our public display gardens, we have a couple of them right now going on. And I don't know, I didn't list the golf course. It should have been in there, but just because it's not there, it's under the topic so we can talk about it. So that started, that was, I think, in 2019. We got funding through town meeting. We're doing a Japanese knotweed invasive species removal. We started the first year last year. It's a 3-year project to get rid of that. And once it's eradicated or reduced enough, the Warren article, the project includes funding for putting in some of Dr. Jageer's plants there. So we had the first year last year. If you drive by now, you'll see it's all pretty dead looking. So that's in play. And the next one we have is the library. And actually, that's one of the main points of this meeting today. So the library in 2019, the director told me about a grant opportunity and did we want to participate for Dig In, I think was the name of it, LSTA, or those might be the wrong initials, but LSAT maybe. Grant from the Massachusetts Library, whatever their overseeing organization is that provides grant funding to libraries. And it was for $10,000 and there'd be some funding, our types of projects, which we've been working with the library for since 2017 or 16 as a partner. There'd be funding available. Did I have any ideas? And, I did, of course. And we settled on, putting in a pollination preservation public display garden on the library grounds. And we had that conversation. The grant was due, I think, in April of 2020. And last November, I was notified that they had gotten the grant. And myself, I have pictures, but, I just not going to put a PowerPoint together right yet. I was invited to meet with Ryan, the library director, and Karen Galligan and Beth Foley from our native pollinator, what's it called? Native Plant Gardens of Southborough, that Facebook volunteer group that's been really helpful getting stuff done. She was there. And at that time, Ryan and Karen showed me the area of land that was available for us to use. And I'm bringing this up because since then, I've met on site with Ryan several times, with Beth. I've had a consultant who I got through my work with the Native Plant Trust for a discounted visit to look at the soil and sun so we can put garden in. There's a bigger scope for the size of the area is large that Ryan and Karen said was available for this purpose. And in our conversations, there were certain areas, for the parking that you don't want to be because of snow and cars, you don't want cars running over it. Ryan pointed out where he'd like, if there was a trail to go through. And when we first discussed this, it was just sort of a neglected portion of the library property. But since that time, wonderfully, the library's putting in one of those book walks. Have you heard of those?
I think I have, yeah.
They have posts and you go and you read the a page of the book, I guess. And
They have them at the schools now
Yeah.
too.
so that's going to be wonderful because it's going to sort of bring people down to the area. It's the back side of the parking lot up against the wooded area and the stone wall of the old burial ground between that and the parking area. And one of the things we talked about, the added benefit of this is that because of the Open Space Preservations Commission's work with Dr. G. Gear, he has offered to lead some workshops there with us, doing training on the Beecology. And it was something that, we talked about connecting with the other schools in town, that there's a disconnect, and it'd be nice to have invite Bay School students and St. Mark's students and, the Southborough Public School students, anyone and it's not like as well, it's sort of nature-based activities, but not everybody is a soccer player or a football player. Some students really thrive with this kind of information. And, additionally, when we first started, this was just talking about having an outdoor classroom, outdoor nature-based activity area. And then COVID hit and it became evident, like with today's standards, how important that is, with COVID and, doing things outdoors, has skyrocketed. But there's also been sometimes people are like, well, what do I do? It's not like people just go outdoors and know how to entertain themselves. So here would be a place where there could be some, the library, whatever type of activities they want, but we could help do some programming like we had done inside in the past. So this was a great win-win, improve the ecological health of the library grounds. This area is full of invasive species. I shouldn't say full, but the shrubs are invasive, and there's enough of them that need to come out. So it would also be a place where people could talk about, see the plants to go home and bring them themselves if they see them in display. So it's part of our project, and it's also what we're trying to do regionally, so that it's been discussed at the presentations of the Native Pollinator Task Force as one of the first ones, and part of our, we thinking it would be on board, that people could see how you start to develop them in different stages. The Beecology one at Breakneck Hill is, already blooming and in, bees visiting. There's a meadow that you can look at, how you put one in, and then this would be another one, like an early stage garden. So that was the thought of, how Southborough would be contributing to this 36 town project. And as part of that, I think I mentioned I met with Trevor Smith. He's a stormwater garden consultant. He's a garden designer. He teaches DPW on how to do stormwater. There's a section of the area that's got a storm drain. It was so full of leaves. I was like, what's that? And it's a really attractive stone lined area that we could utilize for like a little rain garden type plants. He said it would help the stormwater, wouldn't detract from it. But through all our conversations, Ryan said, DPW has control of the land and you need to work with them. So I've talked with Karen numerous times in emails. There was an old apple tree that was all busted up, and I was like, can we save it? Well, at the same time, we had an arborist at Breakneck Hill, working on the trees there. So I was able to get him to come by the library and take a look. And he said, no, the tree wasn't worth saving. So, we're not going to focus on that. We have the other trees. Ellen Sousa, the author of The Green Garden, A New England Guide to Planting, and Maintaining the Eco-Friendly Habitat Garden, with a foreword by Bill Kalena, and Doug Tallamy wrote a review of it in the book, or or an introduction. So she's no slouch, and she doesn't do garden coaching anymore, but she stays with us because of her long-term relationship with us. So, and she gives us a deep, 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 deep discount. So she was out there with me. She couldn't get there till the beginning of May. I was waiting for her. And this is going to wind up in a minute, but I just wanted you to have the full picture. We have been, between myself, different consultants, DPW, Ryan, Beth from the volunteer who's, going to help be one of the, organize some volunteers with us, have been out there really scoping the land out. And one of the things that happened is because everyone across the state is signing up for Dr. G. Geer's vision, land trust, conservation groups, some of his plants aren't as readily available, which is why we use them in our winter sow last winter. Small nurseries are planting and growing them. And what happened is they all were selling out. And many of the plants on his list are no longer available. And having this collaborative conversations with the library director, here's where it's going to be. I knew there was a report after the fact. We talked about what types of things would happen. So to get this moving forward, Ellen was doing the final design look with me. I'm doing the design exactly using Dr. G. Geer's plants, but Ellen's, advising on that. She could come out Monday or Tuesday of this week. And I put in the orders for the plants. We know which plants, we know approximately the land area that was going to be the flowers, because it's been pointed out to me. Trevor identified it. I have pictures of us standing on top of it, talking about it with Ryan. And to get these plants, it took I don't know. I'm into this for over 50 hours of my time, which could have been spent somewhere else. And last Friday, when I submitted the invoice, somehow there has been huge communication breakdown, and it appears the project's not approved by the trustees. The emails I've received in communications doesn't even indicate that they're that supportive or in favor of the project. I don't know how else to say it. I sent you that. If I'm misspeaking here, please share. But it's like they now, to get these plants that are being delivered at the end of the month, which this week I was supposed to be organizing the volunteers, next week putting the flags in to showcase where the plants go, and then planting the 22nd when the first plants start showing up. Everything's at a screeching halt. I've relocated places for some of the plants. Not all of them have been finalized yet. People are begging for the plants, so that's not an issue. And we have all of Breakneck Hill, the pollinator gardens. We also have another garden or two coming up on the agenda that we can talk about. So, where to put the plants isn't a problem, because I have, not only for Southborough, I have people all across the state contacting me about how to help them put this kind of garden in. And now the biggest one that I have been deeply vested in for 6 months, to now find out after we never requested this, it was brought to us. It wasn't like we were asking. And the idea was it was a collaboration, and it doesn't appear that there's any knowledge of the trustees of what this project was, or the value that the Open Space Preservation Commission brings, bringing all these experts and programming and beautifying this area. So I'm at a loss. I'm telling you, I've been at a loss, sick to my stomach for a week. I have other projects to move on to, so that's okay. But I'd hate for the town to lose this opportunity. So I'm trying to figure out what we could do and what our response to demands for like a full on, what you'd pay thousands and thousands of dollars in, plans and they designed, they identified the area and now they want me to tell them the square footage of it. So, I understand communication breakdown, it's on both sides, but you don't have 6 months of communication and multiple site visits with all of a sudden this is not an approved project. And I don't know what else to say. We need, I told I responded to the trustees' original email twice, have not heard back. Saying we should get on their agenda. I have no idea when their next meeting is. At the rate of when we would have to start organizing volunteers to get this done, if they're not meeting next week, I think that the project's over for this year anyhow. And we have to walk away from this grant unless they come up with something, unless they show some initiative that they want to make this happen with working with us, not us asking them. We did not request. I want to make that clear. Never was there a request from us to the library to use their money and this area. I was approached.
What does Ryan say, Freddie? Like, does Ryan understand the miscommunication? Because he was one of the main people you communicated with, right?
It's very bizarre. He says he wants all this, the plans, and he said none of this is unreasonable what the trustees are asking for. And the answer is, excuse me, Carly, wait a second. The answer is, you're right, none of that's unreasonable if we were doing a grant application. If we were doing a grant application, that happened in 2020. And the grant was awarded last year. And I was told where we had the land and met, and that DPW is working with us to take the trees out, the invasives, and where they're going to dig up the soil for us to put the planting in. Nowhere until last Friday did I have any information that we needed to put an application into the trustees to see if they were going to approve the project. And at this point, I think, if I'm not going to put together, I'm not going to spend 2 weeks putting together like a grant application.
Right.
We're not paid. They have paid staff. If they want to send someone and I will tell them and they can write it out, fine. I'm going to have obviously we're going to have a planting plan, but all along I'd said $3,000 that's going to cover the plants. And I also had talked with Ryan and said, to get the full, one of the things with G-Gears program is you need, as you know, pollen and nectar the full season. And there's trees and shrubs. So there's areas for, when you take the invasive shrubs out, put some natives in, beautiful, there's a meditation area we talked about. Beautiful red bud would be there as an understory tree. Some shrubs. We talked about having a section of this, long neglected section of the property that could be a lawn alternative area with different, strawberries and sedges and the prunella to be what people could see, like for when you can make your lawn, not so much grass, right? All of that would cost more than the $3,000, which is just going to cover the perennial wildflower garden. And I said I was writing a grant. This is what's also sad. I was writing a grant for the Choate Fund, had communicated that to Ryan, because I didn't want to compete if they were putting a grant in. And that was due last Friday. I got the email and it's like, I'm not putting a grant in from the Open Space Commission on a project that's not been approved. So that got canned. So if we want those components, and a lot of this could be done differently, over time, phased. I mean, and I'm sorry I don't have a picture here for you, but it's a large expanse of land. What Ryan told me is stay away from the parking lot so many feet, and he wanted the trail coming out by a light post, which would have given us the garden area, the meditation area with some native shrubs and the red bud tree, an area for the willow, which is critically important. And then we could add in, which aren't on Dr. G. Gear's plans, but certainly would have beautified the area, spring ephemerals and a woodland garden, you know, that would pop up. Leaving the leaves is a great example, as well as the lawn alternative. So there's 4 sections. And the flowers, the meditation area with shrubs and a tree, the woodland garden, and then the lawn alternative, leaving plenty of room for the path and and also there was a plan by DPW Director Karen to put another pocket park on the other side of the garden. And this area would be a beautiful walkway through the pocket, the storybook area, through this area down over to. We've spent time looking at the landscape from all directions to make sure height wise and scene wise from wherever you are, there would be something beautiful to be seen. So I
So
don't
much
know
work has been put into it, so I can understand why you're so upset. I mean, it's a really difficult thing for sure.
and it's not like it's not like we've been told, no, don't do it. It's been
Right.
told, but complete misunderstanding on the roles and relationships. This was not us. I want to say this again. This was not the Open Space Commission going to the library asking if they would give us permission to do this. And that's what we're being told we need to do now. And if they don't see the value and that we're a partner and collaboration, then this project's not going to work. And, it's to get it to, so the goal would be to develop the volunteers who would become, also, we don't want to have, steal the volunteers from the Breakneck Hill, right? We still have to do all that work. Oh, and it's another item, but we have another project going on at the South Broken Land Foundation's Fields Preserve. So that's another garden area, which we're going to develop. The goal is to develop these volunteers, people who are interested, not use the same 20 people we have. So this would be to get people interested who are library patrons, who go to the library all the time, who wouldn't mind stopping by and watering once in a while, creating that list. Oh, the watering is really only needed the first couple of years while the plants get established. We have 3 pollinator gardens on Breakneck Hill, which have been there for 7 years and never got watered after the first year. Last year during the drought, we were doing watering because we were putting new plants in, but they haven't been watered in did I say 7 years? That's the beauty of native plants. So this won't be a heavy watering situation after they're established, but the first year, certainly. We know we can do it because we did it last year. In a few months, we put in with a much harder lift that Ecology Research Garden with volunteers. I know that without, people are getting out and about more this year than they did last year, but we have so many committed people that the seed workshop proved that people are interested in this. So the goal would be to get the volunteers this week, to line them up, to be ready to start helping us plant. And once it's planted, and that would be ongoing because the plants are available over the course of several weeks or a month even, as we fill in and the plants, from different companies become more available. We would then have a great demo of how to do it because of working with the Native Pollinator Task Force. I've been working with Lincoln, who's had paid consultants to help them design this amazing garden that we then put in with a process that we just have. The whole point is to replicate it. So it's replicatable across the watershed. So you put the garden design, you put the little flags. The flags are numbered. Each plant has a number. The volunteers pick up, it's like paint by number. You pick up the plant, what number is it? You put it in the area where So we have a wonderful presentation on that. I could have shown, and I'd be happy to share with the library trustees if they wanted to invite us to come in and have that conversation. But I
Would
don't
that be like, what do you think would be the next step based on what we know right now? I mean, I know you don't want to do a full grant proposal and it shouldn't be necessary because it was already approved, but what do you think we should do next?
I guess we could, I think communication.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, because it does sound like there was a miscommunication. And I hope it was an unintentional miscommunication where they didn't realize that it was pre-approved and they were just going through their standard process. But I don't know.
Yeah, we can make up and guess. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You saw the email. It said they needed to, that where were we requesting space? We didn't request any space.
Right.
I was told this is where you can do it. We didn't request money. I was told this is how much is available to do the project we've been talking about since they put the grant application in, which I've
Yeah,
never
but
seen.
it sounds like the people on the committee didn't know that, didn't know that it had been pre-approved based on the email that I read that you sent me.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even pre-approved because it wasn't like we asked for approval,
Right.
if that makes sense. It was working together in partnership collaboratively.
Yeah.
And there was nothing, there was no acknowledgement in that email of any value add of working with us. It was like, you need to tell us what you're asking for, and we'll decide what we'll let you have and approve everything you're doing.
Do they have a meeting coming up, Freddie?
I asked if we could, it would be good if we got together. There was no return email that when they're meeting. And if it's not within the next 2 weeks, this is over anyhow. There's no way to, put this together because the plants I'm getting have to start being put in the first delivery, May 22nd. And you can try to keep them alive for a little while, but I'm not doing that level of work. When I could just put them in somewhere else that's ready and waiting and asking me for those plants. So May 21st was the first planting planned, with the week before being the first putting the flags in to lay out the garden, which was based on Ellen's availability because she doesn't do coaching anymore. She's actually starting a nursery. She left installing a greenhouse to come down to an hour drive to come to Southborough to donate a lot of her value to this project. And that, I didn't say don't come because I didn't want to say the project's over before we had our meeting. Maybe we say, if it moves forward, I would say at the very least, we need to have a memorandum of understanding of how we work together, what our various roles are, and make sure everyone is agreeable to it.
So clarifying roles. Yeah.
And I think this is a great learning project because for me, we didn't have anything in writing. There were just, that terrible word, assumptions. I thought by meeting and being all this numerous conversations that everything was good to go. And I'm sure I didn't specify when I was ordering the plants. I just made the assumption that if we're planting at the end of May, which I said that, and these plants are hard to get, that I would start ordering the plants to get them. Even without, so here's the thing, even without the final design made, we know what plants are going in. We know the number of each plant because Dr. Jagier has told us what we need. There are, this hasn't been as communicated because nobody asked us. Nobody invited us to a meeting. The conversations were ongoing. And, I'm sick to my stomach because for all the work, but also, a little bit like where I missed clues, but there was no communication, so I didn't miss them. So the learning thing is next time you don't make assumptions. You get the MOU up front. I don't know what else. I mean, we could write a letter because I said we'd get back to them with some information by Monday, saying we'd like to come and have to meet and have a discussion on how we move forward, or if we move forward. I don't even know at this point if they're in favor of the project.
Well, they haven't said no. They asked some specific questions, which would be like scoping questions if you hadn't already had permission. How difficult would it be for us to answer the questions that they had?
If you
Because I
read-
remember them, like, I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was things like, how are we going to water it and where are the plant's going to go?
It was the director's thing that he wants a full plan, a narrative, a total build out project cost,
Yeah.
which is like 5 phases of all the land he offered. I mean, to me, that's a, multi-$1,000 project that you hire a landscape architect or designer to do. That's my takeaway.
Mhm.
Telling them, they want the plan and all the plants. This is way more, we know which plants we want, but people don't have them. So we ordered what we can. What's left is at Bigelow's. They're still trying to find out if they can get them. And also, this would be more, if it wasn't such a prominent display garden, like at Breakneck Hill, where you put the plugs in and you wait years, this needs to be as big a pop as possible to make it a display garden, as we've discussed, and to make it, which means trying to get larger plants of plants has been challenging, and trying to keep it within under the $3,000. I thought that was it. Use this area here and put as many pollinator plants for Dr. Jagir's list as possible for the $3,000.
Hmm.
I mean, that's what I thought.
Put that in the letter, that this was our assumption based on the conversations, what you just said.
I don't want to sit down and write the letter. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I have gardens to put in. Speaking of which,
That's going to be a lot more time invested to something that might not happen. A letter, right? Sitting down to write a letter.
yeah, I wanted to sit down and write a PowerPoint for today, right? I have pictures of all the areas. I was going to, draw the design areas on the pictures and put in the fake trees. That's all wonderful, but first of all, we're volunteers, we're not paid staff. And again, even putting in the flags for where the garden is and spray painting it out, when the library, who has paid staff, did it for their story walk, DPW came down and did a lot of the work with them and their paid staff. We're volunteers trying to do amazing work. And it wasn't until I said, well, how did you do that? Like, I found out that DPW gave them the flags. So I had to contact DPW to get flags and drive over there and pick them up to bring them to the area. Like, if you want it laid out, why wasn't that sort of shared resource explained to us? Which it wasn't.
Right.
So, and I was thinking I had to go to Lowe's and buy them out of the grant money and, fund it with my own money and get reimbursed. And then the hose is the same thing. And it's just, maybe there's just too much angst here to move forward. It's too bad because it's a perfect location and it would be great for
When
our
is their
initiative.
meeting?
They never communicated that.
So. Okay.
They had one last week, so I don't know how often they meet. I think if they want to move forward, they would schedule a meeting sooner.
Yeah,
I would say.
they could schedule one.
Like we scheduled
just
this
like
meeting.
this one.
We scheduled this meeting, and we have I put other things on the agenda, but the meeting is about this issue because it's so big.
Well, I really hope they can put out a decision quickly because I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, you've got volunteers
It's-
lined up who will do the
Yeah.
work. And can you imagine going to the library and being able to go and look at the bees and the butterflies and, caterpillar walks, all of that would have, I mean,
No,
there's no
I-
caterpillar walks there now because, it's all non-native, invasive. There's honeysuckle, multiflora rose, bittersweet, there's some shrubs which, you know, aren't in our area. I don't care about, but you know,
No, but the grounds aren't
well, I have pictures of
particularly
trash.
special.
They've been cleaned up. Unfortunately, there's some issues with that, but it's another topic. Since we started doing this, so it's prettier over there since last fall to now. You know, they just did a cleanup. Unfortunately, they took everything they cleaned up and just chopped up the leaves and sprayed it into the woodlands. So now that's going to, you know, they've got mulch up to my shoulder against trees. It's come down a bit, but it's on top of the trash because that wasn't cleaned out. So there's no like, and I have the photos to show you, but you don't, it's not even like the, you know, the mulch volcano mounds.
Mhm.
It's not even that. It's just the whole woods are, the trees are like waist high with leaves because they, anyhow, that wasn't the library or anything. It's the landscapers, but that's another project we need to do is, you know, start educating landscapers how to maintain these projects as they start to come forth. So I don't know, I'm up for any suggestions if somebody wants to take a stab at it. I thought we could write that we weren't requesting land, it was offered to us. And based on that, we'd be happy to, you know, meet on site and show them the whole thing. I'm not going, I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because the time involved when I have so many other projects I'm working on as a volunteer. And I have projects ready to go where people want to do this and are appreciative of the great value add working with our group provides. And certainly, I'm not trying to be obstinate, like I'm not giving it to you because blah, blah, blah. It's just, it takes time to put that kind of a paper together. A narrative, a design of each of the 5 phases. I'll have a garden design of the garden once I'm done working with Ellen by next Friday, but I needed the volunteers in place now to be ready to start doing the work and help me put the flags in. I don't know. I'm open to ideas. Obviously, we're commission.
I mean, do you think a letter is the best step or showing up at their meeting? Which do you think would work better?
We don't know when there is a meeting, right? They made a request for information. I said I would provide them something by Monday. But I'm not going to go through and write all the areas of the garden. If this is, the big point is, this isn't something we're requesting. And I think that needs to be established. Either we're
Right.
partners and we're collaborators working together. They offered $3,000 in some land, and we're offering probably, when all is said and done, you know, over $5,000 to $10,000 worth of value. I'm at 2,500 my time alone. Never mind Trevor Smith and Ellen Sousa, Rob G. Gear. I mean, other towns can't even get him, but they pay thousands of dollars for, he's going to do bumblebee surveys. He's going to offer us, you know, some workshops. This is what we have discussed. Nothing's written down yet because there's no garden there yet.
So, I mean, I'm happy to take a stab at a letter, Freddie, but I can't do it by Monday. I'm leaving tomorrow and I'll be away all weekend, and I still have the master plan stuff that I'm behind on. So I don't know when I'd be able to get to it, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, I do have an idea under Betsy Carroll, who works for the CPC doing their minutes. Maybe we could ask her to draft a letter based on watching this meeting, and we can give her some key points, and I could edit it if, you know, I don't have time to sit down and write it. I just don't.
That's a good idea.
If you agree, and then we'd have to have some things we agree that we want in the letter. Because I want the letter not to, and I'm sorry if I sound like mad. I'm not mad. I'm deeply disappointed, and I
Yeah,
was
well, it's frustrating. It's
I was
frustrating.
shocked.
You're
I
on the
was
same page and then find out you're not. Yeah, it's frustrating.
I would not have put this. Believe me, when I say this, people across the state are asking for my advice and input to help get them these kind of gardens going, and throughout the watershed. And then there's people even in Southborough looking for this. Plus, the Open Space Preservation Commission has our own other projects.
Right.
I would not have spent this time on a project that wasn't already ready to go.
Well, and I remember, I mean, you and I were together when we took the soil samples for the garden. So that's.
Oh yeah, you and I took soil samples that I then gave to Trevor Smith,
Mhm.
who's the consultant.
We have an attendee.
Okay. I think we need to finish up this conversation and then we can,
The attendee is Ryan Donovan.
okay. I want to finish this part of our conversation. So we should write a letter. Are we agreeing that we can have Betsy, we can pay her some of our staff, what do we have, a $2,000 budget to help write a letter to the trustees because we don't have the ability of time to do it, to get them something by Monday. Is that something we agree to?
Yes, I agree. To
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so we don't need to vote, it's consensus, I think. And we want to just share that we would like to work with them collaboratively and come up with a memorandum of understanding of our various, if they want to move forward. And if they find that there's any, value in working with us, that we need to have an understanding of roles and responsibilities and expectations. And that it needs to happen like within the next, they need to if they want this to happen, if they want this vision that we've been sharing since 2019 and the grant application went in 2020, and since we've been told that we had the area in November of last year, if they want to move forward with that, it's going to need to happen soon. I don't know how soon. I'm at a loss. So the other thing is, I wanted to say that we also have, well, Ryan's the library director. Did he want to share anything here? Or is he just in the room to watch? Is there a raised hand? I don't see those sorts of things.
I don't see anything.
Okay.
Oh, there is a raised hand.
So Melissa,
He's raising his hand.
okay. I just don't see that because I have the agenda on my screen. So Melissa, can you allow Ryan to speak? Do you have that ability? Hey, Ryan.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I didn't know you were having a meeting today. So thank you for letting me come on. I have been watching. So I just want to start off by saying that the library really values our partnership with the Open Space Preservation Commission, and we want that to continue. I'm sorry that, any of the recent communications might have created the impression that we don't. I'm not sure I really understand how anyone would have come to that conclusion. I don't think what the trustees are trying to ask for here is a separate grant application. What they would like rather, is some sort of plan for what is going to take place there to be written out. And I'm going to say, I know Freddie said I used the word that there were not unreasonable questions. I don't think asking for a written plan of the area is unreasonable.
Can I respond to that, Ryan?
Yes, of
You're
course.
right. you're right, it's not unreasonable. What's unreasonable is that the narrative and all of this has been in play for 6 months. And we're going to plant next week, and it came to a screeching halt, and they need to approve it. And I'll disagree with that. There's any,
I don't know why you're using the word approve, Freddie. I'm sorry. What we need to do is present to the trustees what's going to happen in the area. So they weren't part of every conversation that you and I had. There needs to be something we can show the trustees for the area. And there were questions that were asked that still have not been answered. You answered the question about watering in this meeting, but you did not respond to the trustee who requested the information about watering. I don't understand why the questions can't be answered.
because we're not sure. If you read the email, they're going to decide if they're going to approve our request. I don't have it in front of me right now. That is the part, that was the sticking part. And I also watched their meeting, so some of this angst is from the comments and demeanor at the meeting.
We requested to meet with you in person this week, and you never responded to that. I mean, it seems like the miscommunication is only continuing. And so I think if we could write down some of you talked about 5 phases for the garden. That's the first time I've heard that.
Because Ryan, when we were there on site, we talked about different areas, and I was clear saying, well, we couldn't do it all at once. So yeah, we're talking about with you, we talked about
Freddie,
where the
I
flowers.
think that needs to be codified though.
I don't disagree. What the problem is that we talked about the flower garden, correct? And where it would go?
I told you that Karen had asked for defined parameters of where the garden was going to be. And that was never decided upon.
So, all right.
And then you said I didn't identify DPW as a partner. We met with Karen on site. I think twice.
That's what I'm saying.
How was DPW not identified as a partner?
I don't know that I said that. And if I did, that's a mistake. I'm saying that we have worked with DPW, you and I.
The next trustees meeting is on May 18th at 11 a.m. So it is within 2 weeks. It's a week from next Tuesday at 11 in the morning.
So Ryan, this all came in fast and furious. The request to meet there came in, and immediately afterwards, I got the email from the vice chair of the trustees.
Her name is Jane Davis.
I'm looking for the email. Yes.
And in the past several trustee meetings, they have charged her with trying to sort of coordinate all of the different grounds projects. And the story walk has not been installed yet. That's part of what Jane is doing. So she's trying to get information about all the projects we're doing on the library grounds. Let's just start with that. So that was decided in the past 2 trustees meetings. So she reached out to you to try to establish what some of the plans for the garden were that we're working with OSPC on. So I think that's where we're at right now, is getting some of that information together to send to Jane so that she can share that with the rest of the trustees.
So can you give me a second, Ryan?
I also am a little confused as to why we weren't invited to this meeting if you were going to discuss the library. We would have been happy to come.
Because we have the ability to discuss our business with what has gone on in the since last week. Left great concerns. So it said here, the trustees can review them to consider this project request. This is not a project request, Ryan. That just, to me, brought everything. If you're considering a project request, we never requested this. This was working in partnership with you from when you first applied for the grant. And I did not request that section of land. And I didn't, you said you had some money, then you told me it was $3,000 when we met there last November with Karen. And you said, this is the area. We didn't request that area. So that is the big problem, that they are considering our request. Nowhere in here did it say any value add that the Open Space Commission has to the library. There's no partnership or collaboration mentioned in this email. I understand if this is the library's property and somebody's going to them and saying, can we use this section of land to do blah, 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 then that's appropriate here. But we have been so far down the road that 6 months have gone by and it's all of a sudden, I get this request that they need a narrative and plans for a project request.
You identified that some of, they want some sort of plan sort of put together. It shouldn't cost thousands of dollars to do something with that. You identified you didn't have time. I'm happy to sit with you and work with you on this if you don't have time.
That was not identified in none of this. There was nothing. I'm sorry, but what happened is, and I also watched the meeting, Ryan. So go back and watch it.
All right.
I
Well, I don't want to take away from any of the business that you still need to do. I just wanted to come. I think the miscommunication is persisting. That's what I'm concerned about. So
When I asked that we could speak, that there was no response to my suggestion that we speak and have. a
Freddie, I've
meeting.
asked you to meet multiple times this week and you haven't answered. I tried to call you and your mailbox is full. I can't leave a message. I don't know what else to say with regards to trying to touch base with you and meet with you. That hasn't been an option, so.
It seems to be that the miscommunication is when I watched, the trustees had no idea about what's been going on for this grant proposal and our involvement in our conversations with you.
So
And
I think if there were things in writing, Freddie, that we could share with the trustees about the project.
Maybe I'd like the trustees to share with us what they're giving us and what their respect and response to us is going to be. Maybe that's the communication and the MOU I'm talking about. Having people, speak disrespectfully about you in a recorded meeting is not a good way to start this conversation.
I don't think anybody's speaking disrespectfully about anyone. I'm trying to resolve the communication issue. Anyway, I don't want to take away from the rest of your agenda. I'm happy to speak to you or to any member of OSPC about this further, if you want. Just let me know.
Okay. I'd like to take Ryan up on his offer, but I don't want to spend time on a project that needs to be approved and is not approved. That was the problem.
It does sound though like what might be going on is I'm trying to interpret what the information Ryan's just given us, that this woman, I forget her name now, that the trustee, that she's been asked to evaluate all the projects because it sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on and maybe not enough information being shared, not just specifically about us, but others. It's not only our project, it sounds like it's other projects too, I guess, that she's investigating to make sure that they know everything that's going on.
I agree that, and there's nothing unreasonable about the library wanting to have plans for what's going on at their property. It's the consider the project request. I don't know how 6 months after we were told that this was moving forward, that they're considering a project request. That's
Yeah, I
the,
agree
that's
with
the
that.
problem.
Poorly worded. You know, if they had just said that we're looking at all projects right now, we want to make sure we have all of the information that we need so that we know what's going on, you probably would have reacted to it differently.
I'm reading what's written.
Mhm.
Nowhere here did it say we look forward to working with you. We appreciate the value add that you're bringing to the library. No, it's just not here. So it's not like I'm making it up. I got stuck on the reviewing what it's a request. So, I'm the wrong person to, if that's not what that says, then maybe I'm the wrong person to be responding. But I figured until we decided, for me, if this is, I need to know that it's a collaborative working together project. And there was nothing in that email that sounded like that. It's like, and there was no identification that they knew this had been conversations going on for 6 months.
I wonder if they did. No, maybe they didn't.
It's a learning process for me as a volunteer to make sure everyone involved knows what's going on. But again, how many square feet of space are you requesting? I didn't request any square feet. We were told that we had this whole area, sweeping arms, we could put something here. We looked at the stone wall, we looked at the woodlands, we looked at the light poles. We looked at there was a line drawn in the sand and then everything to the right of that. And, if somebody wants to tell me how many square feet, I'm not requesting it. We plan to put a pollinator garden on a certain amount, 350-ish square feet. And I had to wait for Ellen to get that done. And then the final planting plan, is somewhat dependent on plant availability.
Sure. So we can only tell them what we know, right?
The question is, again, that to put work into putting all this together for a project request is just what stuck me. If it's show us the plans of, how this project that we've already agreed to work on together is moving forward. That's a very different communication than this.
So given that there's already been this amount of miscommunication, it's my opinion that rather than writing a letter, it would be better to just go to their meeting. It sounds like Ryan said that they already invited you to their meeting.
No, they said if they had further questions. See, that wasn't even a, please come to our meeting and we can talk about it. It's like, write this out. And then if we have further questions, you'll be, invited to participate in a meeting via Zoom to resolve them. No working together, it just sounds like there's I would expect at this level of collaboration, this would have been a little bit warmer at the, and I understand you do things by email. This is what happens because there's no tone and it's really easy to miss interpretations. But again, I watched the meeting and I had requested to call Ryan last Friday when this happened. And then I got this email and I watched the meeting and I just decided that, if we're in a pre-approval stage of the project after a year now and 6 months of being shown where the project is, I don't know. I'm repeating myself. I don't have
You're frustrated for good reason because you feel like it was already approved and you feel like their tone now is not collaborative and not appreciative. So I guess it's a decision to make. Do we want to go back to them and provide the information they requested? it's going to take time to do that. It sounds like they're not just asking us for information like that, they're asking other people as well that have projects that are going on. So I don't think it's personal, but it is disappointing given that you already put so much planning into it. Or we could just walk away from it and not do the project. We never asked to do it in the first place. So, I mean, I guess it's a choice.
I will say this. It would break my heart to walk away from this.
Mhm.
It is a perfect location. We have, in the past, had great programming and bringing our project, sorry. We have had good relationships with the library and worked collaboratively together. This here just, it just sucked the, there's so much value to the library and to our native pollinated native plant initiative and to the ecology and biodiversity of the community and the region as well. This project has benefit way beyond this one little garden. The students that can learn there have their eyes opened up, having a little outdoor space that's inviting that people can use for outdoor classrooms, however the library wants to use it in the future. And I'm sure that Ryan does amazing programming, that incredible things could happen there.
Yeah, I'm sure as well.
And I don't think the intention was as horrible as it I think the miscommunication is, are we partners or are we requesting
Yeah.
to use, are we asking them to do something? Instead of, are we working together?
Mhm.
Because we both value each other.
Mhm.
And maybe that's the letter we write. We'd like to attend their meeting. We will provide as much information as we can put together before them for them.
Yeah,
For
that
that.
sounds good. And that we want to have a collaborative conversation because we feel like there's been a miscommunication.
Yeah, a breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise it's just going to escalate, right? For them to send a letter, then for you to send a letter, and for everybody to misunderstand each other. Like, we just need to talk, right? I'm
Well,
sure.
no, the letter was to invite, to ask if we could be together. But I think, we need to be,
Right.
I think we need to indicate some ground rules. Ground rules sounds bad, but
So you're just working agreements, how are we going to best work together?
I never want to be in this position again with
Of course
people
not.
I
No.
like and admire. And you can't work together if there's this level of distrust. So
next step,
what date did Ryan say this trustees meeting was at?
May 18th.
At 11 a.m.
I don't remember the time, but that sounds right.
May 18th.
May 18th.
Are you available, Karen?
I am, yeah.
Sarah?
If it's at 11, I have a webinar in the morning from 7 to 9, and I have a doctor's appointment at 1, but at 11 o'clock I'm available.
Sarah, how are your kids
Think-
in school?
I'm trying to manage one of them right now. He's finishing his day up.
Okay,
That's why I'm
so
not talking much because I'm trying to listen and keep him in math. But
thank you.
I should be around then.
So the letter could say that the Open Space Preservation Commission is available to meet with the trustees on the 18th at 11 if they so wish.
Mhm. Great.
So we're available. And that we'd like to give a small presentation on the project that we envision.
Yeah, through answering some of the questions that they've asked.
And we'd like to discuss what did you call it, a working agreement?
Yeah, working agreements. Yeah, how best we can work together in the future.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
I think it would be helpful to, I'm not, it's not clear that they have knowledge of Dr. G. Gear's work. The fact that we have already had success down at Breakneck Hill with species that not long ago the state said were extirpated from the state, which is, the first step towards extinction or endangered, whatever. And that we wanted to bring that success and excitement to the library.
Yeah, I think that would be great to communicate that. And some of the questions that they asked in that letter, in that email, would be not difficult for us to answer, like the one about watering, for example. So I think any that are fast, when we attend the meeting on the 18th, we can answer them. And any that we don't know the answer to because the plans haven't been done yet, or we're still working on what plants are available, then I think we just tell them what we know so far.
Well, by the 18th. So this is what the committee needs to decide. If they are not deciding till the 18th, correct? We don't have any volunteers to plant the plants. The plants are arriving on the 21st, the first batch of,
Well, maybe that's something as well that we put in a letter, that because we have moved forward with this project with the assumption that it was already approved, we have plants coming. And so we'll need to know as soon as possible whether or not this can move forward. Because if not, we need to scramble, right? We need to figure out what to do with plants. And
well, we have other places for them,
yeah,
but I'm not going to have, you don't do double the work.
right.
You don't pick up the plants and bring them somewhere else and then take care of them and then bring them back somewhere else after the fact, and I don't have volunteers lined up. So maybe I plan a work day, and we don't, location to be determined. But the problem is, if we do it at Breakneck Hill, which is one place, or there's other places. I don't want to use this, I can't say we're doing a project at the library and we want volunteers, because that's a different group of people that we would connect with. So I really can't do the outreach because I'm not taking my Breakneck Hill volunteers, and I'm sure there would be some overlap, but I'm not schlepping them to the library and then I don't have any Breakneck Hill volunteers. The goal of this was to also engage more people. These people also go home and plant their own gardens to get, we're growing a movement. And I can tell you, just based on the fact that all of his plants are sold out across the state, not all of them, but many of them, this movement is growing and it's catching on. And it's not your typical pollinator garden movement, or it's not your typical native plant movement. And that makes it harder because it's more specific, but it's also more successful when you see the species that are disappearing show up at your garden.
Right, right.
So, I mean, that's the point, not to have 2,000 Bombus impatiens and no Bombus fervidus. And I didn't even know that there was more than one kind of bumblebee when I first met Dr. Jagir in 2015. And he brings that level of knowledge, scientific and excitement to and adults across the state. And I think we're really, really fortunate to have his expertise and his willingness to share with us. And it's a big deal, I'm telling you. Although if you don't know his work, you wouldn't get it, you know. He's a Doug Tallamy of Massachusetts in a different level, but other towns and land trust are dropping everything to get to follow this path. And are we done with this? Do we know what we're doing?
I think we are. I think we are. So Freddie, do you want to respond to that email by saying what we said, that we'll attend the
No.
meeting on the 18th, or what do you want to do next?
No, I will have Betsy draft something up, and then we will make sure it says right, because I don't want any more miscommunications. I don't want any tone or anything like that. If Carol can, did I say Carol? Betsy can do it tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I'm seeding a meadow tomorrow. So it's not like when I say I don't have time, it's
Right.
not because I haven't just taken care of a huge apple orchard pruning, dead tree removal project, mowing areas and not cutting down the plants that the insects, and the fact that we have huge success. I mean, Breakneck Hill, I just would say, through the stewardship committee and our work with Dr. Jagir. I mean, we have photographers from all over coming to see the birds we have there. It just says when you do this kind of work, it makes a difference. And
Absolutely, it makes a difference. It's very important. Yeah.
so, is it all right if I have Betsy, because she doesn't have any of this angst?
Yeah, I think it's totally fine to have Betsy do it. I think it's a great idea. We need more resources, but I mean, it's just the three of us. So we need people to help us. If we can leverage Betsy as a resource, we should.
Well, that's a paid gig, I think. But, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's well worth it out of our tiny budget. And that was the other thing, you know, that yeah, we have been committed and supportive of this project for over a year. So I'd like to share that information, and totally thought it would be nice to move together. And maybe, you know, have somebody else be the liaison with the library, not me. Maybe get one of the volunteers or something. If that seems to be the problem. I'm not sure what the problem was, but there was something.
If I knew more, I would be interested in dealing with them and helping
Well,
out with
Sarah-
the project if I
Sarah,
knew.
you don't need to know more, because you can go back to me. You know, liaison means you get the information, and then you would be learning and being able to share this yourself down the road. I
Okay.
think that's a wonderful solution. That makes me as happy as can be.
Yeah, it's one of, I'd say, the current, you know, the most exciting current project. I think, to me, I'd like to be more involved in it.
Well, I tell you that there are numerous towns that are so impressed by this project in concept, which is no different than what I've been talking about with Ryan. That, you know, people are going to their hometowns and trying to replicate, working through Dr. Jagir's efforts, what we've been doing here in Southborough. So, I get that if you just don't, it sounds like they had no idea what we've been talking about. And shame on us, shame on me for not knowing that. I just didn't, I just didn't know that it was something. So on the agenda, I'm trying to. Are you guys hearing poor Harley? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's okay. We're used to dogs.
I locked him out in the other room, so it's not as bad. One time he was panting, and all of a sudden someone was like, "What's?" And I said, "No, that wasn't me panting. That was Harley." So,
Well,
think
I've had you on mute, so you can't hear my cat howling or my dog barking anytime
I told
some
you,
truck drives by.
I told you about the time I locked him out, and then when he finally broke his way through, he came in and his nose was all bloody from
Oh,
banging it up against the. I'm just trying to find the agenda. There was two other things on the agenda.
Yeah, so I
before we
have
go.
the agenda here in front of me, Freddie. So the other couple of things, we have the
I got
salt.
it. I think I
Okay.
got it.
All right.
Oh, it wants me to save.
Field preserve.
Cancel. Beals
Salt
Preserve.
Fields Reserve and the seed workshop next steps.
Okay.
Then the ATM warrant articles and the master plan update.
Oh, God. All right. Beals Preserve, we have a big section of land that is been us partnering with the South Broken Land Foundation. And we do have a volunteer who's going to help us organize the volunteers when we do it. The next steps there are putting cardboard. Well, we need them to mow the area. Are you familiar with the meadow on Main Street
Yes.
across from Chestnut Hill Road? The South Brooklyn Land Foundation is putting in some, like, I think like a hard packed parking area for like 6 or 7 cars. And then the trail from that parking area, there's an opening in the stone wall on Main Street, will go down towards the open channel, where the bridge is. There's an opening in the stone wall near the bridge. So they would be going kitty corner kind of across that open field on a trail. It's sort of there now, but not well mown. And as they get to the bridge, there will be a pollinator garden there, similar to what we have at Breakneck Hill, but using Dr. Jagir's plants. So, and the goal would be to get the soil prep is to put cardboard, you know the drill from Breakneck, right? Put the cardboard down and then we'll put wood mulch on it. And instead of planting right away, although we could do what we did at Breakneck if we wanted, if that was a desirable thing, but we're believing the phasing was we're at the library now. The Beals Preserve comes in the fall for planting or early next spring, and then the golf course starts next year. So that was our commission's phasing. So that's another work day. So now that we have, let me just say this, now that we have no approval for the library until the 18th, I was looking at doing the cardboard and the wood chips at the Beals in early June. We can switch that up and do that now. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So that's as we've discussed in the past, that's an open space commission partnership collaboration with the South Broken Land Foundation. So we'll just move that up. Then the seed workshop. Karen, did you have seeds and jugs?
I have some up in New Hampshire at my parents' house, and
Your mom.
Yeah, with my mom, and I have some at my house here. Yeah.
Are they germinating?
They are germinating. Yeah.
Sarah, yours germinating?
I only have one.
Oh, okay. So if you see the Facebook group, but we're not only in Facebook, some of it's on the, through our website, and we're going to have to do it through email as well. Because you have that, the, some people's are growing so crazy, they want to know when they start planting. So we were going to do another workshop like the last one we did for the planting them. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's on our plate. And that needs to happen kind of soon because people are ready to plant them or thin them. And I keep, I keep saying, no, just wait. And I don't know how patient people are going to be, but that needs to happen probably this month too.
Mhm.
So that's a second thing. So there's a little bit of my other, all of the scheduling for all of these things is now flipped upside down. So I can fill in the time between now and the 18th. And then what was the next thing on the agenda?
Next is the ATM warrant articles. The OPC Trail Planning Board light bylaw.
Okay. We've taken positions on 2 of these in the past. I just want to reaffirm that we're still supporting them if we're asked at town meeting, that we can say the Open Space Preservation Commission voted and supported as we did in the past. The light bylaw, which is critically important for pollinators, insects and birds, to change, as everything's turning over to the blue LED light, we need to keep it to the yellow light and not be so bright and make sure there's no trespass. We had gone through the proposal before, so I don't think we need to do that again. Unless you're not comfortable reaffirming our support for that bylaw.
No, I'm comfortable reaffirming our support.
Sarah?
Yes, I support it.
Okay. We can just do this as one vote later. Unless we don't support it individually. The next one is the Trails Committee has a plan with using CPA money to get a trail put on the MWRA land from Central Street over to the dam. Have you seen the proposal?
I haven't seen it, but I heard a little bit about it because I saw something about supporting it at some kind of vote or that kind of thing on Facebook.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no reason in the world we wouldn't support a trail.
Right.
The money, it also has the potential for next year for them to get the use it for match. This money will go and complete this trail 100%, but because they have the money, they can also use that as a match to make a bigger project. So if they get the match, it's a bigger, better project with some maybe ADA better trail system, as well as parking and some crosswalks and stuff. That isn't defined yet 100% because it's a matching grant, but it doesn't matter because I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. Of course, we want that, but what's important is they can do the project as defined with the money they have, but then they can also apply for a bigger grant and do more using this as a match. And we will, no matter what, we still get the trail from Central Street. You know where Central Street dead ends on Route 30? Not dead ends, it's a T at the light there. Is that Central Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right where,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you kept going straight instead of taking a left onto the causeway.
there's a gate there and they open it for the water trucks to go, or the MWRA trucks.
Yep.
Go in there. And they open it, I guess, during hunting season too.
Right. So we would be able to have access to that and it would get us over closer to some of the other trails that would connect to the Bay Circuit Trail, which is a couple 100 miles, maybe, I think.
Yeah.
And the more of the Reservoir Trail, as well as the Commonwealth is looking to have a trail from Clinton, Wachusett Reservoir to Cleveland Circle along the aqueducts, but Southborough doesn't have aqueducts, so we have to make other arrangements. So, it's a regional trail. So would we support that?
Yeah.
Karen? Did I lose you?
She had said before she did.
I know,
Oh.
but did we lose you for a minute there, Karen?
Yeah, sorry, somebody came to my door to deliver something, so I had to go back for a package. You lost me. I'm back.
So you support the trails?
I do support the trails. I always support trails.
Okay, and the next one is, I don't know which warrant article number it is. It's the disposal of South Union School.
Oh, right, we talked about this at our last meeting, right?
Yeah, which I oppose. There's a tot lot there. That's the only one on the south side of town that doesn't belong to a school. So parents, I believe the understanding is you can't go to a playground when school's in session. And
Right.
there's also, I mean, aside from the historical aspect of it, there's a park, a grassy area in front of it that for that area has huge benefit in as open space. And I don't know that, if it were for sale, we would be considering recommending that the town purchase it. Why would we get rid of it and then lose, that value of one of the things that open space does? It's not just the size of it, it's the view shed and the feeling of openness and air. And we could also, down the road, put some prunella or something in there, but it could be better habitat
Could
than the
plant a
lawn.
nice meadow in that front grassy area.
Yeah, or, not even, because I think, finding out, we could discuss how people use that land and, have some section of it be a meadowy area or not. But, there's certainly, the lawn alternatives or the flowers within a lawn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Like violets and prunella and other things. So, I mean, our town meeting is what date? The 22nd? If we're meeting on the 18th at 11, I could send out the warrant article so this is a little clearer and not just on concept, right? And we could just take a quick vote right then. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I'm feeling this is a little too fuzzy for us to vote to say we support a warrant article when we haven't had it in front of us. So those are the three: 2 to support and 1 to not support. And the other thing is on the South Union School, I understand there's other, town departments there, and it was where we used to meet. And as we consistently get thrown out of one place from another, nobody's talked with us about, how they would house us and our filing cabinet that's now locked in a closet somewhere. And do you remember when we had our own little room and we had our posters on the wall? It was so nice. And then we went in one day and that was shoved somewhere else. And we went to that room and we got settled in there, and then that got shoved somewhere else. And now there's just no plan for us anywhere. So, okay. So is that all right? We'll table that, but we've had our initial discussion on it.
Right.
Okay. And then what's the next agenda item?
The master plan update. So we're finalizing the chapters, and I do still want, when you have a chance, Freddie, or I can go back to some of your old PowerPoints, but I wanted to write down some of the accomplishments since 2008, and we wanted to share some pictures. And one of the things that was brought up that everybody thought would be great to share is the progress that was made on the Beals, on Breakneck Hill in regards to the invasive species, just as an example of some of the work that we've done.
That didn't happen since 2008.
Oh,
That was, the clear cut was in 2004, I
Okay.
believe. But certainly the Beecology Research Garden,
yeah.
the pollinator gardens on the Wildflower Hill, I think somewhat post 2008. You know, some of the birds there, the kestrel box, now we have a kestrel. The indigos, I mean, we have pictures, we can,
Yeah, so we need pictures. Well, to be honest, I was supposed to already be done with my chapter, so we do need pictures. I was kind of procrastinating because I hadn't gotten anything from Rec, but they've now sent me their chapter. So now the ball's in my court to finish up my part.
when is that? You know, I know you're saying it should be done now. When were you thinking
It was
of it?
supposed to be done yesterday. We had a meeting yesterday. But I've told them that we're not quite done yet. And also now that my computer is broken, I think I told you that in the text, the screen broke on it. So it's now out for repair. So I'm probably going to be computerless for the next 4 or 5 days. And everything I have is on the hard drive of that computer. So it's hard. So I'm going to try to get the pictures and that kind of thing assembled and then finalize it as soon as I get my computer back.
But you don't have pictures.
I don't have pictures. I do have some of the old PowerPoints that I've helped you with when you've done webinars, and I can maybe pull some things from there. But I would love your thoughts and advice on what you think are the most significant accomplishments to highlight. So I've written down here the Beecology Research Garden and the Pollinator Gardens at
Well-
Wildflower Hill.
Well, the two big ones,
Yeah,
the golf course
and then the golf course. Yeah,
and the Halloran property. I mean,
Yeah.
this town has had, you know, we purchased Breakneck Hill in 2000 and, I'm sorry, Breakneck Hill was purchased in 1976, and it was 30 years before the next town acquisition of an interest in open space, which was the purchase of the CR on Chestnut Hill Farm. 30 years later. And this Open Space Commission was involved in helping that move
yeah,
forward.
it's fantastic.
Well, since that 30-year, I mean, so we're not a proactive town on,
Yeah,
since that 30 years, so that was in 2006. Since 2006, we preserved, I'm not sure how many acres under a conservation restriction at the golf course. And then we also purchased the Halloran property, which is, so that's 2 properties since 2006, which, you know, is a lot less than 30 years. So it's, you know, I think that's a pretty successful asset to highlight in that report. I have some pictures.
that would be fantastic. Yeah, I think, we just feel like the pictures will really say more than, as I know it's your philosophy too, than like a little paragraph. If we can show a few pictures, that would
It
be.
would, but did you hear me just say I'm going to do that? But I'm also doing the solve thing, and I'm putting in a meadow, and we've got ecology gardens, and I have the total number of plants I have ordered correctly right now are ooh, thought I wrote it down somewhere. 533 plants, which are from 4 or 5 different locations that need to be, you know, dealt with one way or another, whether it's at the library or somewhere else. And again, we have plenty of places wanting these plants, so that's not the problem. It's how to get them where they're going to end up and deciding their final destination. And, you know, it may all well, you know, be great. They're needed and wanted at Breakneck Hill, but spreading the wealth around is also an option for some of them.
Yeah, that's good.
So all of those things, and now I'm saying yes to pictures. Oh, and doing a presentation prep for the library I wasn't planning on doing.
Right. Well, if we
And I-
don't get pictures in the next week or so, I'm not sure we can include them. So, but we might be able to. I don't know how strict they're going to be on the deadlines. So I guess it's just a matter of, figuring out how important it is for us to have the pictures or not. We can also just write up the paragraphs.
Okay. So then what else?
That's
Anything else on
the
the,
agenda.
That's it on the master plan?
Yes, yeah.
All right, so will you ping me next week on the pictures?
Sure, sure. Yep. Yeah, I
And-
let them know 2 weeks ago that we were working on the pictures. So they know that where we're kind of standing right now. So
Was there anything else you're thinking? Oh, well, I would say that our efforts working with Dr. G. Gear since 2015 is something you want to highlight.
yeah.
Um, and saving at-risk bumblebee at Breakneck Hill that was gone in 2019, and to have him, it wasn't this is not the Open Space Preservation Commission is the liaison with Dr. G. Gear. The works to date mostly has been at Breakneck Hill through the efforts of the Stewardship Committee and support of the Conservation Commission. So all of these people need to be highlighted. I think also the work of the Stewardship Committee on the town forest needs to be highlighted. Unless Kat has done that with some of the trails work, because she's done amazing work with the trails, but we've also worked with the Eagle Scouts and got some good stuff going there. So maybe you could reach out to Joyce if she has pictures. Oh, we just have pictures of this installation of these that just happened. It didn't just happen because it just happened. It just happened because we've been working on that property for years, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And if anyone hasn't heard about it, go to the Stewardship Committee's website to look up the birdhouses and other cool info. What did I call it? Backyard bird bingo?
That's right.
We should all be playing that.
Sounds fun.
Okay. All right.
Cool. But I think I think that's it. That's it for the master plan update. And that's the last item in our agenda.
Okay, cool. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 3:05.
All righty. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Who's in favor? Karen,
Vikovich in favor?
Sarah,
Sarah Osatano in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor? Passes. Talk to you guys later.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.